Hello and welcome. I'm Mark Winkworth, and you're listening to Tales of the Sea. I'm pleased to welcome as my guest today a multidisciplined and passionate advocate for the sea, Alexandra Doudera. What Alexandra has accomplished in a very short period is quite extraordinary. As a young girl growing up in Camden, Maine, she formed a deep and lasting connection with the ocean. I'll use her own words here. I felt called to it. It was an almost unavoidable consequence of spending summers exploring Maine's rocky coast. Lexi, as her peers and students call her, has gained great success not only as a passionate ocean advocate and educator, but also as a successful business entrepreneur. She's the founder and executive director of Saltwater Classroom. I was interested to hear from Lexi some of her earliest memories of the sea.
I think my earliest memories growing up in Camden, a coastal town very much tied to the ocean, were really, rooted in curiosity and exploration. And like so many kids find themselves along the coast, just hands in the tide pools and exploring different creatures and things at low tide.
Oh, very fun.
My family had a small sailboat, 24-foot sailboat that the five of us would take out on little weekend excursions to different islands in Casco Bay.
Oh, yeah, very nice.
Yeah, exploring in the tide pools. We would also, my older brothers and I would do a lot of crab fishing. So just a hand line over the pier at Warren Island or off the sailboat and pulling up crabs and things like that, baiting our little rusty hooks with pepperoni and salami. And
Creative.
So I think really just, those formative experiences rooted in curiosity and exploration were my first memories.
Yeah, I don't really have to ask what was so alluring because it's like a magical playground for a kid growing up on the water. I was lucky, too. I grew up in Manhasset Bay, Long Island, in New York, and there was no end of crazy stuff to get into and explore. And has that stayed with you? Has that allure to the sea changed or grown?
I think it's definitely grown, yeah.
The focus of your work today is certainly all about maintaining the health of the oceans for future generations, sustaining what we all consider to be an unbelievable natural resource. What's your take on the state of the ocean today? And we might as well be real specific, and as we look out on Casco Bay and so many challenges, right?
It's a big question for sure. And I think at the core, I certainly am optimistic. I think the ocean is such an amazing resource, such an amazing ecosystem, the single largest ecosystem on our planet. It's so resilient. It's so powerful. It's so diverse, has a lot of potential to bounce back from the challenges, mostly anthropogenic challenges that we have created.
Sure.
I do remain optimistic. I really see, one of the major challenges facing the oceans is a lack of ocean literacy. Despite kind of the outsized importance of the oceans, their role in our economies, our societies, the functioning of our planet, the ecosystem driver, the weather driver, I think this lack of ocean literacy is really concerning when, again, we think about the importance of our oceans, the issues that are facing them, whether it's plastic pollution or sea level rise or, the weakening of ocean currents and circulation or any number of things. When you learn about something, whether it's seagrass in Casco Bay or sea turtles in the Arctic Ocean, there becomes this pathway ultimately to value and protection. But you learn about something, you appreciate it. In turn, you value it.
Right.
Learning about something is really the first step.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. You hear so often that we know way more about the moon and Mars than we know about our oceans. When did you first discover that there was such a thing as a career that would allow you to spend more time in and around the waters that you loved as a child?
I think the first career that I really thought I wanted to be in maybe fourth grade or something was an animal rights lawyer.
Seriously?
I was lucky in high school to have some opportunities that really opened my eye to marine biology and marine science.
Were there individuals who had influence on you, either people you read about or teachers or family who had a big influence and allowed you to see that, hey, I could actually make a career out of this love of the sea?
Yeah, definitely some teachers. I think Nat Geo, like kids magazines and that sort of thing, like always kind of learning more and connecting with nature and science, really. And then, yeah, some different teachers along the way that, encouraged me to kind of chart my own path. I think really in high school, I kind of got on this track of like I did an independent study. I remember focused on scuba diving and marine science, and again, had this opportunity to do this 10-day long program at the island school in Cape Eleuthera in the Bahamas through my high school.
Now, I'd love to hear a little bit more about that program, Cape Eleuthera, and how that really kind of, I don't know if jump-started is the right idea, but it really got you excited about pursuing that career in marine biology.
Yeah, it was definitely formative. I think it was a 10-day program. There was a group of maybe like 15 or so of kids from my high school that went. But we went down and we were kind of broken up into small groups, working with PhD researchers. There's the Island School, which does high school programs, and they also have like some programs with Bahamian kids. But then there's also I think it's called the Cape Eleuthera Research Institute, likely PhD candidates who are doing their research based out of that institute. So I was working with a researcher who was focused on lemon sharks, juvenile lemon sharks, and specifically predator-prey analysis. We were out on the boat every day catching sharks and tagging sharks, and it was just so cool.
Sounds very cool.
I was always a math and science person. I knew, having grown up in a small town, I wanted to be in a larger city. So I had my sights set on Boston. Really, in particular, had my sights set on Northeastern, partially because of their location right in Boston, but also the co-op program, their emphasis on experiential education. And then they actually have a really cool marine science program, a marine science center.
Okay, so marine biology becomes the focus, but at some point then you add another major, right? I mean, you're pursuing environmental policy.
Yeah.
A bit of a turn from the strictly hard science.
I decided that a second degree in environmental policy, that gave me the opportunity to take classes related to like environmental ethics and sustainable business and fisheries management and different things like that.
Okay.
At the time, I was really interested in cities, coastal cities in particular. These kind of hotspots for human activity mirror the ocean in terms of productivity and diversity and efficiency and that sort of thing.
Which led to another interesting opportunity, as I recall.
I went and did a study abroad program in Chile, a coastal city there, was researching this topic. I wrote several papers about urban coastal sustainability for Latin America, for specific cities, making comparisons between different locations, that sort of thing.
It's amazing to me you were able to travel and test out some of the things you were writing papers on. And that sounds like it really helped galvanize your thinking and seeing how other countries were responding to the call for environmental ethics and how different fishing industries were managed and so on. I mean, you were the perfect student to take advantage of your university's experimental education arm. You got me sort of jealous here. At the same time, I know this is a critical moment in your education. So please continue.
It was during this research that the power and the potential of environmental education really stood out to me.
Right.
And at the same time, I was volunteering in a 5th grade classroom, helping teach English and, working with these Chilean 5th graders. Just kind of saw this opportunity for like young kids to learn about the ocean, but connect with one another as well.
It may have had you thinking about your own childhood in Maine.
I was probably missing Maine a little bit and drawing some connections between the two locations and thinking, how cool would it be for kids in Maine to learn about the ocean and for kids in Chile to learn about the ocean and then for them to connect and like almost like ocean pen pals, I remember thinking like in the beginning.
This leads to your senior thesis, correct?
I started to think that I could, develop this idea as my senior capstone, my thesis project. My advisor, Malcolm Hill, he actually is a geology professor, but he was my advisor. And currently he's on our board of advisors, has been really a supportive person throughout the whole process, which is pretty neat. I reached out to him and said, I kind of have this unique idea. It's maybe a little different than what you typically are getting for capstone projects and proposals. Can I build this out? Can I really work on this as my project? And he was supportive. He said yes, basically. So that's what I did. And I built our business plan, our original curriculum and different lesson plans. I did some research in elementary school classrooms in Boston. I went to a few different classrooms and kind of made observations about the kinds of lessons that teachers were doing and how technology was used and what kind of environmental education or ocean education they were including already. So did all that research and then kind of built out this portfolio project. It was an exciting thing to work on. And then I decided to do a pilot program of it. And we did our first program, I think, in June of 2018.
Wow. Amazing. Yeah, and you sound as if you were super organized, very focused. It's very impressive for someone right out of college. So just 6 months after you graduated, you were launched. How was the idea received?
People were really supportive, really positive, really, really great. So we just kept working on it, kept growing.
Did it surprise you that it came together so quickly and you literally launched into a business?
Honestly, since the beginning, the vision has been so clear. There's no choice but to follow it. I remember, pretty soon after that program, we did a little crowdfunding campaign. We did the program in Maine, and then I really wanted to test this kind of global aspect. So I had some connections in a small town in Mexico and reached out to them about doing a program there. Maybe 8-10 months after we did our first program in Maine, we traveled a team of 4 of us to Mexico to do a program down there. And we brought a filmmaker with us who made the video for our Kickstarter, for our crowdfunding campaign. And then we did the application for the 501c3. I remember working on that at that time. When that came through, when we got our 501c3 status, that was a really big deal.
I should say.
Pretty early on was the pandemic. So it was a bit of a shuffle, but we pivoted by doing virtual education, which kind of natural for us because we do have this emphasis on technology as well. But really in the past 3 years or so, being here in Portland, we've really solidified, built some recognition in our community and kind of grown even further.
Just for the benefit of folks listening in and who are intrigued as I am, can you share an example of some of the nuts and bolts of how specifically you go in and put the Saltwater Classroom program in place, whether in the States or abroad?
Yeah, so we typically will have someone reach out to us who's wanting to do a program, whether it's a teacher or community center or a summer program or something like that. Our workshops are really driven by a 5-day curriculum that has 5 overarching themes.
Okay, so a 5-day, 5-themed structure, right?
That structure guides the workshops.
And what's the age range for students?
Our kind of target age range for kids is ages 8 to 12, grades 3 through 6 or so. There's been a lot of research that has shown that is the most impactful age for this type of education. The kids are old enough to understand complex topics, cause and effect, kind of their role in a bigger picture.
Right.
But still young enough to not have any hardened beliefs or be inhibited by social thing. They still really have that strong sense of curiosity and willingness to try new things. So we'll kind of tweak it as needed to fit an individual's or our, partner host's needs.
So what does a typical week of the program look like?
We kind of start with a very broad introduction to our oceans, kind of the global perspective, the planetary perspective of our oceans, beginning with the fact that they cover 71% of our planet, thinking again about their global significance. We then zero in on coasts and coastal ecosystems, talking about, the unique environment where we may be if we're in a coastal area, interaction between land and sea, humans and the ocean. So our second theme is focused on the coast. Our third theme is focused on seawater itself. We talk about ocean circulation and shaping weather patterns. We measure seawater, different characteristics of seawater, whether it's the salinity or the pH or the turbidity of the water. We measure waves during that day. And then the fourth theme is focused on marine life, the diversity of the ocean, the way things are classified in the ocean, different habitats in the ocean, fish and fish anatomy, marine mammals, all kinds of things. Typically, these kids are really wanting to learn about the animals. So,
of course,
that's an exciting day for kids. But every day holds their attention and holds their wonder. And then the final theme is today's oceans. So we talk about our human connection to the ocean, issues facing the ocean, and what we can all do to be better friends of the ocean, better stewards.
So it's an intense 5 days. And are you in and out of the classroom during those 5 days?
Yep. Many of our activities are based in the classroom, but then as much as possible, we're learning out in the natural environment. Even if we're just teaching outside, just being outside is a different environment for kids to learn in.
And that's great.
It's very interdisciplinary as well. We incorporate art and language and music and all kinds of different ways.
I'm guessing that allows you to approach each student's interest and how they connect with learning. That's great. So I noticed the connection between the interaction, I should say, between the human-built environment and the natural world is a big part of your focus. Does that come into play in terms of the program when you're talking and working with the kids? Do you give them a view of how this dynamic should or could play out?
We are talking a lot about that. Definitely communities is really where we kind of focus. So we do a lesson at the end where we have these kind of 3 overlapping circles where we brainstorm different ways that we're connected to the ocean, different issues that the kids are familiar with or that we've learned about, and then solutions that they know about, whether it's a law or a policy or a beach cleanup or education, different solutions. And then the kids kind of think about, okay, so we're connected to the ocean by fishing. An issue that has risen potentially because of this is maybe ghost gear or something.
Just a quick note here. Lexi uses the term ghost gear. Now, ghost gear is abandoned, lost, or discarded fishing gear. Things like floats, lobster pots, nets, and ropes that have been deposited, whether by accident or intention, into the sea. And all of this gear is, of course, hazardous to fishing boats and, of course, dangerous to marine life, fish or other creatures who might get caught up in the discarded traps, nets, and so on. Unable to move, they eventually die. It's a huge problem. The Saltwater Classroom students, posed with such a problem, may just come up with some possible answers.
So in our curriculum, we focus on this. We talk a lot about watersheds. We talk again about these global patterns that influence our planet, the kind of global oceanic patterns. And I think just, looking at it as a global system, really.
Lexi, what I greatly admire about the program is your expanded reach. That leads us into a discussion, if you will, to the Saltwater Classroom app. And I'm fascinated by the app. I don't know much about it, except that it's what you've been calling, I believe, Phase 2. So can you fill us in, talk a little bit about it?
The week-long programs that we do are wonderful and quite impactful. But at the end of it, it's kind of like, see you later, bye. And this is an opportunity to continue to engage students. You never know what someone's going to really latch onto, what they're going to be passionate about. our curriculum is so broad. We have kids that are fascinated by like maritime history or treasure diving. So we see this phase 2 as an opportunity to teach about many more topics, to continue the education, to break down barriers facing ocean literacy in many ways, whether they are geographic. If you're not living near the coast, you might not think you can experience it. This is a way to experience it firsthand.
And I would think the app would offer greater accessibility to the programs.
It's not a huge cost to organize a week-long program, but it is a barrier to some. So it will be freely accessible to people. And then also physical. We think a lot about accessibility for people who may not physically be able to get down to the coast or get down to the intertidal zone. And, this is a way for us to really grow this ocean literacy in an accessible way, in an inclusive way. So that really has been our intention with growing this.
Lexi, can you talk about the actual user experience? The app user, that is. Let's say I don't have access to one of Saltwater Classroom's week-long programs. How will the app help bridge that gap?
It's an online platform, a web-based app, essentially, for ocean literacy, geared towards young students. Again, this target age range of about 8 to 12 years old, but accessible to everybody.
That's what I was hoping to hear, because I want to use this app.
The user is the learner. So it's kids engaging with the platform or learners engaging with the platform. Basically, it's slightly gamified. Lessons and activities are grouped under badges. So kids are engaging with the content in hopes of earning different badges that would be displayed on their profile. So, you could be a blue economy hero by learning about what the blue economy is or different careers, or you could earn your lighthouse explorer badge by logging a lighthouse that you see in the Outer Banks, or by, learning about how the special type of glass in lighthouses, Fresnel glass, is refracting light, or how ships navigate by lighthouses, or the oldest lighthouse in the world. Different things you could connect with and engage with and earn progress on for the badge.
Oh, very cool. I will definitely be collecting badges, not because I'm anywhere near 8 years old. I just like badges. This is clearly a promising development.
Yeah, it's a really exciting chapter for us. It's something that we've been working on for quite some time. This was always the idea since the beginning, that there would be this technology piece that would facilitate the education and connect people. So it's really exciting to actually be realizing it.
And circling back on your entrepreneurial skills, how is the app funded?
We, have been fundraising to support it. We've gotten some wonderful support locally. The Maine Technology Institute, Davis Conservation Foundation, the Maine Community Foundation, nationally too, the Doing Foundation, which is based in Virginia, the Verizon Foundation, PepsiCo Foundation.
That's an impressive list. And
then the support that we've received also from collaborators. Collaboration is really at the heart of Saltwater Classroom.
A lot of people think, oh, okay, an online platform sounds cool, but boy, I don't want my kids spending even more time on a screen. Yeah. And how is that? How do you approach that balance? I always think that's tough.
Yes, it's something we grapple with for sure. And I think especially when we're speaking with funders, a lot of the programs we're applying for are nature-based education or hands-on education, environmental education. So it's a little bit counterintuitive to think about technology facilitating this. But I think that, again, it's really about opportunity and accessibility. With that being said, much of our education, although facilitated by the platform, will take place offline, off the screen. So it might be just giving you instructions or giving you, a lesson plan to work with, and then asking you to actually go out and do something. Right. Whether it's sampling, surveying where seafood is coming from at your local grocery store, or looking for an example of symbiosis in your backyard, or practicing nature sketching, all kinds of different things that are, can be done anywhere. Doesn't have to just be in coastal environments, but is getting kids outside, getting kids to engage with the natural environment in a way that is kind of fostering this spirit of curiosity and connection.
And speaking of connection, I mean, you could have kids in one part of the country or one part of the world sharing their environment, going out and taking pictures of or drawing or whatever, and sharing it with someone halfway around the world. This connection of community, a global community, in the service of, the environment and oceans, education. What better way to connect ultimately, right?
Exactly. Like I said, we've been working on this for quite a while now. It's been the focus. It's been the ultimate goal.
Is the website, is it public? Can the public access it? Get their kids signed up?
Almost. We're nearing that point. We're still in development, building out the platform and building out the curriculum base. But as soon as this spring, we will be doing some testing with students, with users.
Great. And I know you've been working on a number of collaborations in terms of content for the platform, correct?
So I mentioned the one that's focused on restorative aquaculture with a Yarmouth-based sea farm, Naughty Sisters Sea Farm. We're working with Ripple Effect, an organization here in Casco Bay that's focused on outdoor adventure.
Terrific organization.
We're working with them on a badge.
Lexi, in addition to these great partnerships that you've developed, have you received support from the Maine-based tech industry?
We've had great partners in the Maine Technology Institute. It's not typical for Maine Technology Institute to fund a nonprofit. I think the emphasis of this phase 2, our online platform, on workforce development for Maine, for Blue Economy, but also this, technology facilitated idea, it fits their priorities, and they have been really great partners.
Just kind of to wrap up, what would you say to those listening in, young at heart, who want to become more involved in the health and future of this amazing resource, our oceans, even if they live far away? I mean, where should they look for opportunities, and how can they really get in and feel like I'm contributing?
Well, the first thing that we say you can do to be a better friend of the ocean, to be a better steward of the ocean, is to keep learning. Definitely.
This has been great, really. Okay, last question. Do you personally have a favorite tale of the sea? A book or a poem or a song or a story or a memory? I mean, something that's touched you that you kind of come back to again and again?
I think for me, and this was my favorite book as a child, and it rings true, Robert McCluskey's Bert Dow, Deep Water Man, is my favorite.
Okay. Oh, sure. Robert McCluskey, a gifted teller of sea stories. I'm thinking of Time of Wonder and the other one, Make Way for Ducklings. I vaguely recall Bert Dow, Deep Water Man. Remind me, a main character?
He's a salty fisherman who is, kind of at the point of not giving up, but slowing down for sure. And he goes out fishing and he's kind of distracted by his catch. And this big storm, this big gale blows in, and he is stuck out at sea, and he ultimately seeks refuge in the belly of a whale. The illustrations are just amazing. I mean, Robert McCluskey was such a talented storyteller, and he's inside the whale, and then he's worried about how he's going to get out of the whale. So he starts splattering paint and the bilge water and ultimately causing the whale to burp him out of his belly. I think that's a tale of the sea that I often think about, and was one that captivated me as a child. I remember my dad reading it to me quite frequently. So
that's a good one. That's a good one. A little bit of Geppetto, a little Jonah, a little, Yeah. Hey, you've been great. Lexi, this has been wonderful, and thank you. You've been very generous of your time. All the best to you, to the organization, the future. It's very exciting, and I wish you a great journey ahead.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Mark, and it's been a pleasure to speak with you. Thank you for including us, and I look forward to staying in touch.
That ends this episode of Tales of the Sea. If you enjoyed listening, please tell a friend or two. My thanks to Alexandra Doudera for joining us and sharing her insights on the role of education in helping to create a culture of ocean stewardship. For more information and updates on Lexi's program, be sure to visit saltwaterclassroom.com. And remember, you'll find this podcast, Tales of the Sea, wherever you stream your favorite podcasts. This episode was produced at Munjoy Studios in beautiful Portland, Maine. Special thanks, as always, to my talented producer, Jewel Selbo. I'm Mark Winkworth. Thanks for listening.